My first guest is Michael Gach, the president of Heritage of West Nyack. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you, George. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
So, Michael, I'm delighted to have you on the program. And, you're the president of Heritage of West Nyack. You took over for the late Bert Dahm. Bert was really, as anybody who knew him would refer to him as Mr. West Nyack.
He was.
And just a wonderful man who was very committed to preserving the history of our town, in particular history of West Nyack. And Heritage of West Nyack, this wonderful community organization, has really taken off over the last number of years. And you now, as the president of that organization, there's wonderful things that we're doing with Heritage that you're doing for the town and for the community. So we'll talk about that in a moment. But let's first just give our viewers a little flavor of who Michael Gach is as a resident and as the president of Heritage of West Nyack. So you were born and raised here?
I was, yep. Born at Nyack Hospital. I was raised in Pro River and Nanuet schools until 3rd grade, and from then on I moved into West Nyack, and product of Clarkstown schools ever since.
Great.
My parents are still in the same house in West Nyack that I grew up in.
Great. And you currently live down obviously in West Nyack as
Correct.
well?
Yes.
Great. You're glad to see your parents saw the light and, emigrated to Clarkstown, Happy to have you here, and happy for all the efforts that you're involved with the town. I know you're a runner too.
I am.
I typically drive my daughter is now a sophomore at Clarkstown South. I typically drive her every morning to school and then head over to work. And very many mornings I'll see you running up Bardonia Road, depending on how late or on time we are. You're normally doing like a 4-mile lap there?
Yeah, that's a big hill. You see me at my worst, so that's, I don't know how I look at that point. It's probably not pretty.
Yeah, early in the morning.
Exactly.
But, how often have you been running?
I was a runner at South for Rake and Jackie's team for all 4 years. So ever since then, it's just a couple times a week to stay in shape. I'm not quite in shape like I used to be, but doing my best to keep healthy.
And do you do any of the half marathons or any of the 5Ks or any of those?
I don't. I've thought about it, but the difference between me going out and jogging a few miles and then training for something, it's a big enough difference that I'm not quite there yet, but maybe at some point.
And what do you do professionally?
I'm an attorney. My office is in Blauvelt. I do a lot of local real estate law, some work with local businesses on contract work, and a little bit of wills and trust, a little bit of tax.
Great. And how long have you been an attorney for?
I passed the bar in 2006, so it's been 11 years now.
All right, great. Well, again, delighted to have you on the program, and so our viewers can learn a little bit about you as a person, certainly with your involvement with Heritage. So let's talk a little bit about Heritage of West Nyack. Maybe you could explain what the organization does. It's a community group, and talk a little bit about its mission and core values.
Sure. Heritage of West Nyack started really out of the efforts to push the West Nyack revitalization through. As I'm sure a lot of viewers know, the town of Clarkstown's been going through each hamlet doing these really impressive capital improvement projects. And there was a citizen advisory committee set up to help shepherd through the West Nyack one. It's one of the last ones still waiting. And the members of that committee decided, rather than just be an appointed committee, it was a good opportunity to form a more formal West Nyack Civic Association, which we haven't had. So that was kind of the impetus to get us off the ground. And we formed around 2012 with the mission of helping to advocate for West Nyack issues, helping to push through or support potential projects that are of interest to West Nyack, and also to put on various events and educational programs for the people of West Nyack, and just kind of make sure, because hamlets don't have governments, our lowest government is the town, so make sure that there's a group that's making sure that West Nyack is well represented in town matters.
Great. And I know that there's been a number of things that folks from Heritage have really kind of gotten involved with, not just the revitalization, which thankfully we're moving forward on that. I think that the biggest issue that we had with the revitalization was the Owens property. And unfortunately we had, the town had moved forward, and we had the framework for a plan and most of the drawings and things done for phase one, which is the revitalization of the park and the expansion of the park, the creation of the retention and a detention pond, with adding a small playground and parking lot directly across from the post office. And then phase two was supposed to be the streetscape all the way down from the Four Corners down to Western Highway. And there'll be some potential roadway realignment and additional parking and some things of that nature there. And thankfully, we're through the issue with the Owens property. The town was acquiring it through eminent domain. There was a lawsuit. It was only settled earlier this year in 2017, and we are now moving forward with the final permits, and we expect to go out to bid sometime in 2018. And we'll start phase 1, and we'll be working actively with phase 2 and really meeting with the folks from Heritage again and going forward with that. But Heritage has been involved with a number of things in West Nyack. Maybe you could talk about some of the events that Heritage has sponsored and some of the things that Heritage does as an organization.
Absolutely. Our big event every year is our Fall Festival, and that's something that we've partnered with the town on, as well as the Rockland Historical Society the last few years. And the way that started was we got very involved in the efforts to preserve and restore what we're calling the Traphagen, Budke, Vanderbilt, Onderdonk property. There's
Right.
a lot of families involved, but that's the property on West Nyack Road next to the Jermons Park. And we were looking for things we can do to highlight that property, what people could do to get involved and what kind of events could take place there. And we, along with the town, had the idea of putting on a fall festival. And we invite local artisans and local food vendors and local farms, and there's things for sale, there's events, there's games for the kids, and we just had our 5th one. It was attended by well over 1,000 people. It's been a very big event for us annually. We also had a big year this year. We started 2 new events. We had our first scholarship, which we offered to any graduating senior from West Nyack, whether they be from South Albertus. We also just this week had our first tree lighting and holiday open house, which also very well attended. We don't have an official count, but it definitely was in the 3 figures. We were very happy. We had a few local musical acts who played. They were great. We had the Albertus Choir come sing. With the town's help, we installed a beautiful little Christmas tree that is going to grow over the next few years. And bringing these events to the community has helped to highlight not only us as a group, but some of the previously overlooked areas of West Nyack, such as that property. And that's one of the things we want to do is make sure people know about the parks that are out there, the historical structures, bring events that will help people to realize how much potential there is in some of these areas of West Nyack.
No, agreed. And I can tell you that the Fall Festival, since I've been supervisor, we've actually we've added some to our commitment from the town. I mean, the town had kind of sponsored the event with you and on our property over at Traphagen. There really wasn't a vision for Traphagen, and I'm delighted that we've been able to secure $500,000 in funding from the state. We actually are meetings are underway with our architect, Stephen Tilley from Westchester, who is going to lead the efforts in putting the plans together to have the historic Budke house restored. The Budke Vanderbilt house, Onderdonk house, dates back, the foundation, we believe, to the 1730s. And the house itself, the original part of the house is still standing to 1791. And then through about 1820. And so it's one of the oldest and last Dutch, they call them Jersey Dutch stone colonials. And it was a very specific type of architecture that dates back to the 17th and 18th centuries. And, we're very fortunate that we've been able to, the town acquired this property. And, it's amazing. Originally the town was going to subdivide the property. And directly across the street from it is now the Yellowstone subdivision, and the Budke house would have become a ancillary part of a brand new Center Hall Colonial, and this wonderful property that we're now having thousands of people come to through all these different events, which we're now really opening up even more and more to the residents, would have been lost. So I'm very happy that Heritage has stepped up to help us. To publicize what's taking place at this property. But your Fall Festival has just been wonderful, and it's really a credit. And this year, this past year, 2017, the numbers, were definitely stepped up a little bit. There were some great additional events that we've had. The town's, through Parks and Rec, paid for the Revolutionary War reenactors, which is a big hit. In addition to that, they, we had sheep shearers and the local artisans, and then folks far and wide, which has been great. And I was also proud to be at your first presentation of your first scholarship.
That was a great event.
Great event for you. And again, helping us to support the open houses at Trapphagen, that's really been a great thing. And just the recent tree lighting, there were, in my estimation, probably between 200 and 300 people there. That was really a great turnout, and it was something as out of small town America, or almost like a Hallmark, movie. It was just this wonderfully picturesque scenery, these historic homes, and hundreds of folks coming through. At the Trapphagen house, which is on this property, and as you're aware, Michael, we have both houses designated both on the state and national register of historic places. These are now considered historical properties, real credit to our community, and we've placed markers there in October on Jermons Road. So for folks that are unaware, please go by and see these houses and see the property. It's at 131 Jermons Road. Let's talk just a little bit about how somebody can get involved with Heritage of West Nyack. How do they get in contact with you?
Sure. We have both a Facebook page. You can search Heritage of West Nyack on Facebook. We also have a website, which is heritageofwestnyack.org, O-R-G. We also have our meetings regularly the first Thursday of every month at 7:30 p.m. It used to be in the West Nyack Library, but the town has now allowed us to start actually using the Trapphagen House for our meetings, which has been great. So 7:30 p.m. the first Thursday of each month at the Trapphagen House, we do our meeting. If people want to actually join, they can get an application through Facebook or through our website. If they just want to come see a meeting, see what we're all about, ask some questions, you don't need to be a member to come to a meeting. Those are always open to the public, so we're happy to have people. And we're also not a group that requires any particular commitment. If you want to just come now and then, if you want to just be involved in some of the bigger events, we're always looking for people who are interested in being involved at any level.
Great. And again, could you just give the website address?
Yes, it's heritageofwestnyack.org.
Great. So, Michael, I want to thank you for your leadership as the president of Heritage of West Nyack, and for your support of all the efforts that the town has been trying to do to promote the history of West Nyack and move forward with the revitalization. And I also want to commend Heritage for the members of Heritage that really have kind of rolled up their sleeves and, in a very personal way, have almost taken like ownership of aspects of keeping the heritage in West Nyack alive and the history of West Nyack alive. West Nyack is our downtown business area, is one of the few designated historical zones. For folks that are not too familiar with our local history, I'd encourage them to check out, the history that they can find on our town website through Heritage of West Nyack, which has some wonderful resources, and also through the Rockland County Historical Society. Down in that area, it's the old Clarksville Inn. That was the crossroads of Rockland County. For very many years, it was the old stagecoach and line. There were train lines down there. We've had U.S. presidents, including President Van Buren, who stayed at the Clarksville Inn or visited the Clarksville Inn, and it's still in existence. We're hopeful that there'll be some more things that are going to take place with the Clarksville Inn going forward, but it's really our historic, probably our most historic area within Clarkstown. In that area in West Nyack and very close to the Trapphagen property, we've had we can claim as our history General Washington and Rochambeau coming through the area on their way to Yorktown. Rockland County, as very many people know, has the nickname, if you will, as the Highway of the Revolution, or the Crossroads of the Revolution, because while there were not too many major battles here, we had the Battle of Stony Point earlier in the Revolutionary War. We certainly had very many notables, and we had a lot of troop movements through Rockland County, and as I said, General Washington was in Clarkstown and came through Rockland County and through Clarkstown on a number of occasions. And in the West Nyack area, there's a number of areas where we know that General Washington was, and then fortunately we have homes like the Butke House that still exist and are still standing, that were there, that were witnesses to this history that from the formative part of our early years. And thanks to you, Michael, and thanks to Heritage of West Nyack, this history is being passed on so that it'll never be lost and future generations will know it. So it's good for our town from a tourism base, and it's good for our local businesses, but more importantly, it's good for our residents to know what's taking place here. And I want to thank you for your efforts and the folks from Heritage of West Nyack.
Absolutely, and I should just say that the reason I'm currently president is only because we lost our founding president, Bert Dahm, and I'm just trying to fill some very big shoes because he set the bar high, and we're just trying to keep up with the pace that he set us on.
Yeah, I tell you, Bert had, unfortunately, Bert was suffering from cancer late in his life, but he was able to be around when we were able to announce the funding awards. He was at the press conference, and I was very pleased that as we planted the new Norway spruce over at the Trapecken property, which is now decorated for the holidays, that we surprised Bert's wife, his widow Arlene, who was able to attend, and we have placed a plaque at the base of the tree and planted the tree in memory of Bert so that his contributions will never be forgotten. So, Michael, thank you for being a wonderful guest, and again, thank you for all of your efforts with Heritage of West Nyack.
Absolutely, and just one last quick plug, if anyone's interested, our next meeting will be January 4th, that Thursday, 2018, at the Trapecken House at 7:30, and we're hoping in the new year to meet with our new town board members who represent the West Nyack area so we can discuss moving forward with the new board and, of course, with yourself on some very exciting projects in 2018.
Great. Thank you, Michael. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks for being a great guest.
Thanks.